Hey, how's it going, everybody? So I wanted to make this video as a way to combine a lot of the things I wish I had known when I started with all the things that I think are essential to know when playing this game. This game does not allow fast progress, so these are all things you want to make sure you know to allow yourself to progress as quickly as possible without wasting your time. This is not meant to be a comprehensive guide, so if you have any other good tips, add them to the comments section below. Some of these topics are also quite deep, and I will be making separate guides for them in the future, so be sure to subscribe so you don't miss anything. Lastly, making quality videos like this one takes a long time, and for that reason I've created a Patreon account as an option for people who would enjoy the opportunity to support me in continuing to make great videos. There is no expectation whatsoever, but if you would like to donate, just click the link in the video description. And now, let's get into the tips. This game really revolves around mana, which is that bar beneath your health. You live and die by your special skills, and your mana is the key to using those skills. So a thorough understanding of mana is definitely something you want to have mastered. Simply put, you gain mana by matching tiles in the color of heroes you have on your team. However, if your troops, little guys that come out of the matched tiles, cross the battlefield without striking an opponent, you gain double the mana you normally would. This is called ghosting, and it is a very important strategic tactic in the game. As an example, my Gravemaker here charges with 6 tiles normally, as you can see. However, when I match those tiles and they don't hit an enemy, they count for double. Use this to your advantage. There will be times that you want to hit opponents with tiles, and times that you want to intentionally miss. Lastly, I want to show you this chart. Come back to this whenever you need it until you have it memorized. Basically, there are 5 possible mana speeds for all heroes, and they each require a different number of tiles to charge. Knowing how many tiles or matches you need to charge your specials, depending on the speed of a particular hero, is a really important part of this game. You want to know that if you match a 3 match, and 2 tiles hit an opponent and 1 is ghosted, that it will be enough to charge your healer so you can survive the enemy sniper that is almost fully charged. By practicing and eventually mastering the information here, you will become a much more effective killer on the battlefield. When you first start playing the game, you get 5 team slots, and I suggest you use them all. You can also use gems to purchase additional slots, which is what I did to make things a bit more convenient, but this is not necessary. When viewing your hero inventory in either element or power mode, the team in slot 1 will always be shown at the top. I think by default slot 1 is used for defense, but I've used slot 1 to put my leveling projects in so they're always easy to find. Outside of that, I recommend having a team for your Titan attacks, your farming team, your raiding team, and lastly your defense team. Placing your defense team in the final slot makes it less likely that you will accidentally mess with it, thus weakening your defense. Clicking the button shown at the bottom of the screen here is how to tell the game which team is intended to be your raid defense team. The last point to make here is that you can name these teams whatever you want, and I suggest utilizing this feature to keep things clear. Within my own roster, I have chosen to have my first 2 teams, and therefore my first 2 rows, as leveling projects, but I'll talk more in detail about leveling later on in the video. I can recall the sobering moment when I realized that to progress in this game, I would have to replay some levels on occasion, which turned out to be an understatement. When you start Season 1, it's like any other Match 3 game, where you just play through levels of increasing difficulty. However, since this game is all about leveling your heroes, you will need a steady supply of resources if you're to do this with any speed or efficiency. That answers the why, so let's look at the how. Farming is simply replaying levels you have already completed in the interest of acquiring the resources they provide. This is about maximizing the amount of resources gained per world energy. At the end of the section, I'll show you where to farm with some of my favorite spots. Now, the most important thing when it comes to farming is using autoplay. Discovering autoplay was life-changing and makes farming so much easier. So when should you farm? Short answer is always. In fact, I'm farming right now while I record this video. The more resources you can get, the faster you can progress. Hands down, the best place to farm currently in the game is the monthly event Atlantis Rises, so I recommend saving all of your world energy flasks for this event. During this time, world energy costs for the Season 2 levels are lower, while the resources gained are higher. You do have to complete Season 1 to have access to Season 2, so if you haven't done this, make it your immediate priority. So where should you farm the rest of the time? The place I farm most often is Season 1, Province 12, Stage 9. This gives decent resources and lots of XP compared to other common farming levels like Season 1, Province 8, Stage 7. XP is great because as you level up, it increases your world energy cap, which makes your future farming even more efficient. The other consistent thing you'll want to spend world energy on is quests. Always complete rare quests and class quests, as the ascension items and emblems are very valuable. Depending on your strength, these could also be good places to use battle items to make sure you are able to fully complete them. Each time you level up, all of your energies, or flags, are refilled. The two exclusions are war flags and tournament flags. If you plan carefully, this can allow you extra hits on the Titan, extra raid attacks to fill your hero chest, and more world energy for farming. So make sure you keep an eye on the XP bar by your avatar, so that before you cross into the next level, you first use all of your remaining flags. World energy flags are the only ones that provide XP, so you'll want to use your Titan flags and raid flags before your world energy if you're close to leveling up. To see exactly how much XP you have remaining, simply click on your avatar in the top left corner of the screen. To put it bluntly, good heroes are hard to come by in this game, and when you do finally get one, there would be fewer things more upsetting than accidentally feeding them away. So when you do get a new hero that you know you want to keep, make sure to click on the lock icon in the upper left corner of the hero card. The same tip goes for troops as well. Getting 4-star troops, or even 3-star troops, can be something that really ups your game, so you want to make sure that you save those important troops too. To save your troops, open up the inventory, go to troops, click on the troop you want to save, and you'll see the lock icon appear above it. Lastly, with tournaments in this game, you will need to have 2-star, 3-star, and 4-star troops, so be sure to save enough of your lower level troops so you don't accidentally feed them away and have none left for your tournament team. Filling these wanted mission chests, as they're called, is an important part of your daily gameplay. They can be a good source of important resources, and you'll want to fill as many of these as you can. However, something that I don't think many of you knew is that when opening a hero chest, full from raiding, it doesn't matter what arena you filled the chest in, but only what arena you open the chest in. The higher your cup count, the higher the corresponding raid arena you will be in, and the better the rewards can be. So if you're in gold when you fill your raid chest, and you're right on the verge of going into platinum, it could be worth waiting to open the chest if you only need one more raid win to push into platinum. However, I wouldn't advise waiting more than like an hour before opening the chest because you want to make sure that you reset that timer so you can get on to the next chest and perhaps even get one of those very rare elemental chests which generally give even better loot. Occasionally I will use gems to skip the wait time on the hero chest when there isn't much time left and the gem cost to do so is therefore reduced. The cost will vary between 1 and 20 gems depending on how much time is left on the timer. I find the typical loot in the monster chest to not be worth the gem expense of skipping the timer, but depending on the arena you are in, skipping hero chest wait times can be worthwhile. With a game built on so much random chance, or RNG as it's often called, you want to make sure that you're doubling down and capitalizing on the areas of gameplay that can give you the biggest advantage. Personally, I feel there is no better thing to focus on than tile play, or how you move the tiles on the screen to your advantage. Being able to see in your mind what will happen after making certain matches can not only help you charge your heroes as efficiently as possible, but it could cause some deadly combos to destroy your enemies even faster. If this is something you want to get better at, which I strongly encourage, be sure to check out this video, also linked in the video description, where I explain this concept in detail with helpful examples. This is going to change as you progress through the game, so I'm going to focus on considerations for the earlier points in the game. Food and iron are essential resources for as long as you play, so I recommend maxing your farms and mines as quickly as possible to ensure you're producing as much as possible. Another thing is don't prioritize leveling up your houses very much because you can store infinite recruits in your training camps. I recommend putting all excess recruits in a training camp level 11, often called TC11. It's pretty easy to bank a lot of recruits in here, which you can easily pull out to put into other training camps if you feel the need. But it will also cheaply produce a steady stream of 1-star and 2-star feeders. Don't worry about buildings like the Hunter's Lodge or Alchemy Lab until you're much further in the game and don't need your food and iron as much for leveling heroes or other critical buildings. I'm also someone who doesn't use many battle items, so you can determine how far you want to push your forges based on the items you like having available to you. My focus was on leveling as many heroes as quickly as possible since that is what I think makes the game fun. In terms of the stronghold, you're going to want to consistently level this up until you can at least unlock all the plots of land in your base, giving you more opportunities for more farms and mines. The watchtower will be the highest yielding building you can have when compared to a single farm or mine, so make this somewhat of a priority. However, I've been playing every day for about 10 months and still only have my watchtower at level 17. With regard to your food and iron storages, if you aren't finding your food and iron maxed too often, then the upgrades for these buildings will be strictly related to meeting the thresholds for high-cost upgrades for higher levels of your buildings or expensive research costs in training camps. I only recommend leveling these as much as you need to achieve the more important upgrades. Leveling heroes should be a blend of speed and efficiency. On one hand, you want access to that new hero as quickly as possible, but on the other hand, you need to balance the use of various limited resources. For these reasons, I recommend leveling one of each color hero at a time, or two of each once you're further into the game. After I explain a few more things, I will show you how I personally level heroes based on where I'm at in the game. I always recommend feeding on-color heroes 10 at a time until you get the special skill to level 8 out of 8. Once the special skill is at level 8 out of 8, then you can feed as many or as few as you want at a time. The benefit to feeding same color heroes is you get 20% more XP and you get a higher chance of increasing the special skill. 20% more XP means leveling your hero 20% faster, which is a big deal. You'll also want to start with your 1-star feeders first to be more food efficient and then eventually move on to 2-star feeders. You pay food on a per feeder basis, so when you get to the later stages of leveling, the food cost is prohibitively high for how little XP you will get for a 1-star feeder. So here's my approach to leveling. Primarily, I will always advise leveling the heroes you think are fun to use on offense. There can be a perceived pressure to have the toughest defense team possible, but if they aren't heroes you think will be fun to use when you actually play the game, then I wouldn't advise it. Other than that, I always level 2 heroes of one color at a time. The top row that you see here, which I have in my first team slot, are the heroes that are further along in the leveling process, and I'm only giving 2-star feeders to them. The row beneath are my secondary leveling projects, and these get all the 1-star feeders. Typically by the time the secondary level heroes are ready to get 2-star feeders, the top row hero of that color is done, and I can move the secondary hero up to the primary spot and bring in a new secondary hero of that color. This is by no means the only way to do it, but it's my preference. My advice is to join an alliance early. Killing Titans is the most reliable source of rare Ascension materials in the entire game, so you'll want to kill as many Titans as possible, which you can only do in an alliance. Finding a good group of people can even make the game more fun to play too. So you want to make sure to find a group that matches your level of commitment to the game, as alliances can range from very casual to very competitive. There's nothing wrong with changing alliances as your level of progress and commitment in the game fluctuates, but I recommend from personal experience to try to find the best match you can and then stick with it. To find an alliance, you can either click on the alliance button at the bottom of the screen to browse alliances, or you can look into some of the recruitment threads on the Empires and Puzzles forum to see if you can find something suited to your level in the game. At a certain point, emblems become one of the most valuable resources in the game. For this reason, I don't recommend giving them to just any heroes. Basically, they allow you the opportunity to boost the stats of a fully maxed and ascended hero and give them a talent, which is predetermined by the class of the hero. What heroes you choose to put them on will vary depending on how you intend to play the game, so let's talk about that. The idealistic approach is that you will save them for the best 5-star hero you get in each class, but it can take a long time to get to this point, meaning that they will sit on the shelf for a while. The other end of the spectrum would be that you put them on your best 3-star heroes. The problem with the latter is that you will ultimately outgrow these 3-star heroes. So while putting emblems on 3-star heroes will give you an earlier advantage, it can hurt you in the long run. And while waiting to put them on only your best 5 stars will get you off to a slow start, it can ultimately help you in the long run. The exceptions to this rule are tournaments and challenge events. Emblems on heroes will give you a big advantage in tournaments, but in my opinion that is a fairly niche aspect of the game to dedicate such a valuable resource to. Even though tournaments are weekly, only 1/3 of the time will they be a 3-star, 4-star, or 5-star tournament in particular. With challenge events, people will emblem very specific heroes to compete with, but competing in the challenge event is a pretty advanced style of gameplay, and I wouldn't recommend taking that decision lightly unless you're an experienced player. So with that in mind, what should you do? Well, there is no right answer. Personally, I have chosen to emblem some very specific 4-star heroes, but I'm slowly removing them in favor of newly acquired 5 stars. Some excellent 4-star heroes though, like Costumer Guard and Proteus to name a few, are deserving of emblems even in the more advanced stages of the game. I wish I could tell you what to choose here, but you will have to let this information sink in and ultimately determine what is right for you. The final thing to consider is that you can remove emblems from heroes, but there will always be a cost. You can either pay gems and forfeit 5% of the emblems you used, which I don't recommend doing, or you can use a reset emblem to return 100% of spent emblems, but these reset emblems are rare and should not be used frequently. Even if you do use a reset emblem, you won't get back all the food and iron you spent. So don't be in a hurry to use your emblems, but continue to learn about the game and you will ultimately decide what to do to fit your playstyle. If you have different thoughts about this, let me know in the comments, as that can help other people watching too. Synergy is the most important thing to consider when putting a team together, whether it be offensive or defensive. I've seen many people try to beat challenging levels just by throwing their strongest heroes at it, and this is a fundamentally flawed approach. One of the most basic and best synergies is to combine a hero that lowers the defense of all enemies with a hero that boosts the attack power of your team. There are many other possible synergies outside of this, but the one I mentioned still remains one of the most effective. In general, you'll always want to have one healer on your team, or sometimes 2, depending on how challenging your opponent is. Next, you'll ideally want to stack at least 2 or 3 of the strong color against the opponent's tank or central hero in their defense. Then you can make decisions based on the special skills of your opponent, like whether you will need a hero to cleanse ailments from your team or a hero that can remove buffs from the opponent, etc. Make sure to read every hero card you have access to, so you can develop a strong working knowledge of what heroes are out there and experiment with ways of combining them until you find a few synergies that you like. A final note is to think carefully about the order you fire your specials in. Firing a hero that boosts attack is going to be best before using your sniper, as is firing a hero that cleanses an attack buff before firing that same sniper. And when thinking about this on defense, the AI will always fire from left to right, so keep this in mind when structuring your defense. Defense is its own thing, but for starters you'll always want to have your toughest hero in the center position, and typically to use one hero of each color so your opponent can't stack a strong color against you. You can look at the teams on the leaderboard to get a good idea about some of the best defensive team synergies. Here's a quick example of a team synergy I really like. On this 3-2 yellow-purple team, I have 2 snipers at very fast speed that apply a defense down against yellow. Then I have Gazelle, who can cleanse ailments from me, boost my attack, and limit incoming damage. To that, I add the uncostumed version of Regard, who can heal and also cleanse, and then Proteus to block enemy mana generation, which is one of the most powerful effects in the game. Here's how this team works. Okay, so once I have enough tiles to get all my yellows charged, which will happen right here, this is where the synergy comes in. So Jackal is very high attack damage, deals 270% damage to the target. Target gets minus 54 defense against Holy for 4 turns. So what the synergy is here is that I have this slightly weaker Jackal, only a 918, but he gives the same ailment. So I boost the attack with a Gazelle. I use the weaker Jackal to hit them for a little bit of damage, and then also to apply the negative defense against yellow, and then I can pretty much kill any hero with the follow-up shot. So we have a shot over here with 1500 health. She's a little bit weaker actually. Let's see what's his defense. So he has an 836, she has a 778. So let's show that we can kill a full strength hero with this combo. So we'll use Gazelle first. Remember, the order is very important. We'll use the weaker Jackal so that the stronger one can use his follow-up shot on the, you can see now he has minus 54 defense against Holy, so this thing should hit about 50% harder. So we'll use the second one, and dead. So the first one was 541, the second one was 1010. And you can see he's got 1070 damage plus another 1070 because Gazelle gives a plus 100% attack. And then let's see if this team survives long enough for us to use our other heroes. Okay, so Regard can then heal everyone back up. Proteus can stop their mana. And now I can hit them with tiles, and their mana is going to stay frozen there. They can still hit me with their slash attacks, which you can see they're both about to do on the very next turn. And then they're also taking 128 poison damage per turn for 2 more turns, which is going to actually kill them. So these reds will do almost no damage. He's going to die next turn, but we'll just finish them off with our yellow tiles. So that's an example of synergy that I really like, and you can see from that clip how they work together to be able to take out an even pretty tough team. So remember to experiment with your own heroes to find good synergies, and then don't be afraid to stick with those tried and true combinations. If you've been playing for a while, then this is an obvious one, but if you're a newer player or didn't know about this, then it's super important. Tapping once on an enemy allows you to target them. This means when you fire a special skill, you will hit that particular enemy. Being selective about who to target based on the function of your special skill can allow you a lot more strategic control over the game, and it's something you should take into account at all times. Perhaps there is a weakened enemy about to hit you, but instead you can target them and kill them first. Additionally, if you press and hold on an enemy, you can see a lot of information about them. Use this both for strategy as well as to learn about various heroes and build up a base of knowledge about how to more effectively fight them. This game can get expensive very quickly, so it is important to decide if you are comfortable or even interested in spending any money on it. If you do want to spend money on it, then I highly recommend setting a budget of what you can comfortably afford or want to spend on entertainment, and then stick to it. This can allow you to purchase only the best deals as they come up instead of spending on demand. It can be very tempting to want to summon until you get a good hero, or in other words, spend more than you ideally should. However, if you set a budget and stick to it, combined with the understanding that more often than not you will not get what you're after, then you can avoid the heartache of overspending. There are no guarantees in this game, so to play responsibly means to approach it much like gambling and to be okay with losing more often than not. Never chase specific heroes because 99.99% of the time you will just be left disappointed. Even if you do have the remarkably good luck to pull an event hero or something of the like, there's a high chance it will not even be the one that you really wanted. For this reason, I really recommend keeping your spending low. As I mentioned before, it can be very tempting to spend a lot, but remember that it is just a mobile game and there are probably other things you can spend that money on that will make you much happier in the long run. This seems almost too obvious to mention, but I think this is the most important tip. This is a game to play for enjoyment, so make sure to keep this in mind. It's easy to get frustrated if you set your expectations too high, so I recommend expecting the bare minimum and trying to be happy and find enjoyment in the heroes you do have. Or better yet, make your opportunity for improvement be the things you can control, like finding good synergies with your heroes or getting really good at playing the board. In other words, double down on the things in your control. Even with the most insane roster that could cost thousands upon thousands of dollars, there will still be heroes that you don't have and will still want. Even with the best heroes, it can still take ages and ages to level them, so getting good heroes is only half the process to being able to use them. The lesson in there is to not get caught up in the chase and instead enjoy the game as a nice fun break from reality. So hopefully this video has helped you improve your understanding of what is a really fun game and given you some useful tips to keep in mind as you progress. My closing reminders are that this game is a slow grind. If you want to have success in this game, then you can't expect progress too quickly. And secondly, don't chase heroes. It is just not worth it. Let the game be a source of fun instead of a source of stress. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. I cover all sorts of information and strategy related to empires and puzzles on this channel, so make sure you don't miss out. If you have any questions or suggestions, be sure to leave them in the comments below. I try to respond to as many comments as I can, but we also have a wonderful supportive community here on the channel of people that would be happy to help. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you in the next video.